To get started, I've selected some various sticks of wood here. I can get an 1 5/8 in width out of all of this. The thicknesses I want to be random, anything from veneer thickness to 3/8 of an inch. All these have got 120 grit sanded surfaces. I have now gang cut them into about 7 3/4 inch long pieces, selected different patterns or created different patterns, glued these together into these spindle blocks. Lots of clamping pressure, a lot of surface there to drive glue out of. Let them set overnight, and then I can go to work at cleaning these up. A little bit of hand scraping to give me a surface that'll ride along my table saw fence, and then a number of passes both on the edges and on either the top or bottom. I need a square stick of wood there. Cutting off the ends, setting up a stop block at about 3.5 inches, and chopping these to length. So with my blanks in hand, the next step, I need to determine the center, at least at one end of these. That's a pretty simple matter. I'll put a little dimple there with my awl in the center that I can use with the live center on my lathe. I am going to chuck these, but my chuck doesn't close small enough, but the inside of my jaws do make contact, and that works just fine. The first step, I just want a round cylinder here. I'm going to save myself a lot of trouble by using a Forstner bit. This one happens to be 1 1/8 inch in diameter. I'm drilling a hole down through there about 2.5 inches. And then I'll go through an assortment of sanding paper grits. I want the inside sanded to at least 320. Once the inside is looking good, then I'll go to the outside, bring the wall thickness down to around 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little under 1/8 of an inch. It's up to you. If I've got a consistent outside diameter, and I know the inside is consistent in diameter, then I'll have a consistent wall from end to end. Now, whenever you can finish the sanding process by sanding with the grain, you're always going to produce a nicer surface. I'm checking the depth here. I want to part this off right at the bottom of the drilled hole. I'm going to cut these cylinders on the bandsaw at a steep angle. I need a device to safely hold them in place, so a couple of cuts on a little board of MDF creates this notch. Positioning the cylinder, you have a choice of having the laminated layers oriented horizontal or vertical. I think putting them on this little tray at about a 45-degree angle creates a better effect. I'm going to cross-cut these at about a 45. The width of the cuts, the width of the ovals, that's up to you. They're pretty small in this case, about 1/8 of an inch. A little fatter at one end than the other. That'll just give a nicer effect as they hang from the ear. Now, these are rough bandsaw cuts, but by using a little double-sided tape and some scrap pieces of wood, I can put a nice dis-sanded surface on each side. The tape's sticky enough to peel this off and flip it over to the other side. And then to finish the sanding, I just used sheets of sandpaper on a flat surface. You can see here I'm just flipping it over to sand the other side. The final sanding was done with a sanding mop. This just cleans up any fuzziness on the edges and so forth. Now, in addition to that first set, I did a number of these, and I varied the inside diameter hole. On this one, it's a smaller hole turned down. This is a 7/8 hole, and I've divided it into 5 lines or 4 pieces. Cut these and managed to get 2 pair of earrings out of the same cylinder. Here's different sizes here. I also did some with a 1-inch hole. To keep things mixed up, I also did one pair where instead of a parallel wall, I turned an outside tapered wall, which varied the wall thickness, gave a little bit different effect when it was cut apart. For finish, the Krylon Crystal Clear again, about 5 coats, buffed in between coats. It gives a nice soft finish when you finish with the buffing It takes the shine off it. Tiny holes, 1/16 inch holes at the top of the earring. The thin part of the earring goes to the top. Having the thick part, the heavy part, hang down just seems to look better. Now, for the hanging hardware, I'm using some jump rings that are bigger than the previous ones that you saw me use. I needed the bigger diameter jump ring in order to go through the wooden part of the earring. The jump rings obviously get spread apart wide enough to insert through the hole that was drilled. The ear wires need to be modified slightly. They come with the little loop or little opening positioned in one position. It needs to be twisted 90 degrees in order for the earring to hang in the right orientation. That's because of the addition of that jump ring. So it gets slipped onto the jump ring, and then the jump ring gets squeezed closed, and that's all there is to it. You can face whatever side of the earring to the outside that you prefer. These are pretty easy to do. Big wow factor with not a lot of work. They seem to be quite popular.